That chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
We got breaking news coming in. Shots fired. Seems to be shots fired at the Trump rally.
Wow, it's just still so chilling to watch. Just 1 year ago, that President Trump was shot during a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. In the chaos, lives changed and stories of heroism emerged. From the eyewitness rally goers to the people who watched from home, it was a moment we will never forget. Please join us for a powerful look back and ahead in our special report. Trump targeted Butler 1 year later. A nation watched, a leader stood strong. That's tomorrow at noon Eastern here on Lindell TV. Again, you may have heard her at the very end of that sound that we played. That was our Vanessa Broussard. She was there that day in Butler, Pennsylvania. She is coming out with a special report. And again, that's premiering tomorrow at noon. All right, now let's go ahead and bring our Kara Castronova in, who, as I said earlier, has been digging into a variety of topics. So it kind of depends on where do you want to start, Kara? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Christy, how are you today?
Great.
A lot of things going on. Obviously, President Trump, I will start with that, is traveling to Texas. He left earlier today with the First Lady, Melania Trump. They're heading to Central Texas to survey the damage down there and meet with people that are doing a roundtable discussion. So that will be on Lindell TV later today to check that out. President Trump, if you guys could put that article up, that is, let's see, we have it labeled today. President Trump, the article on President Trump going down to Texas. Sorry, Christy, today's a little bit confusing on the back end. Number 4.
It's a Friday. Happy Friday, Kara. We're almost
Happy Friday as well. Yes, it's a long day. And number 5, put up number 5, guys. Thank you so much. That article regarding President Trump going down to Texas today and everything that he's doing down there. They're heading, obviously, like I mentioned, to Central Texas. They're going to speak with local officials and first responders. And, you know, it's just so sad to see the death toll standing at 127, but more than 170 people are still missing, Christy, which, you know, that more than likely not alive. It's very sad. So that's 300 people that were killed in this crazy flood that shocked so many people. And, you know, drones, rescue teams, and volunteers are still combing through the debris, hoping to find answers for the families of the missing. And President Trump is going down there today. And his statement was he waited to Friday to go. He didn't want to distract from the search and rescue by going down there. And he's saying that this is just a horrible catastrophe, which is terrible to watch. A lot of questions still being asked as to what caused this. Is it really a natural disaster? Coincidentally, as you know, Lee Zeldin put out a statement about geoengineering, which is, I don't think it's a coincidence that this statement was put out in the past couple of days about this administration, about the EPA releasing what the government, quote unquote, knows about contrails, chemtrails, geoengineering, cloud seeding, and such. So if you guys could just quickly pull up that Lee Zeldin Gateway Pundit number 6. Gateway Pundit put out an article, and I like to get my news from the Gateway Pundit more than the mainstream media because they're just more accurate. But he announced that he would release everything the EPA knows about geoengineering after it was revealed that cloud seeding occurred 2 days before floods. And of course, a lot of people, I'm assuming, just thought that in their heads, like, was this geoengineered just because of the devastation? It was nothing like we've seen, at least in decades. So that's definitely on the forefront, I think, of a lot of Americans' minds, but they don't want to sound like conspiracy theorists. But then Lee Zeldin coming out this announcement just days after Augustus Dorico, the CEO of Rainmaker, a weather modification company, revealed that planes had released silver iodine in the atmosphere in Texas 2 days prior to the fatal floods that claimed over 100, now close to maybe possibly including the missing 300 lives. we have that clip, if you could pull that one up as well, from Lee Zeldin, who I have a lot of respect for. I am from Long Island. I was there for Lee Zeldin's campaign when he ran for governor, and I got to know him. And he's a good guy, and he's really doing a lot of work on the back end. I still have to check out what he has released and what the EPA has released. I hope it's just not a nothing burger like the Epstein files. They're saying they're going to be transparent and release all of these files for the American public to look at, what the government knows. But of course, we have suspicions when it comes to any government, whether it be President Trump or whoever, is when they're saying they're going to release everything they quote unquote know. So we have to check that out. And I still will do that. I'll get back to you next week after I read all those documents that Lee Zeldin is releasing. But please check out Lee Zeldin right here. This clip of Lee Zeldin talking about the EPA being committed to total transparency when it comes to weather modification.
Concerned Americans have urgent and important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who asked questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government. That era is over. The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics, and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there.
So that was Lee Zeldin, EPA secretary. Like I said, if you guys want to pull up element number 3, people want to go to the EPA.gov website, which is number 3. There are links that you can go, and obviously citizen journalism, anybody watching, is very valuable because sadly a lot of journalists actually have access to these files and they don't read them. They just read headlines. I will make the effort to take a look at these documents over the weekend, print them out on paper, which is the way I read best, but those documents are available at the EPA's new geoengineering and information on contrails from aircraft online resources. And I will withhold judgment until I read those documents for myself to see if, this administration is really being transparent, or if this is another file release that so many administrations prior have released where, it's sort of a nothing burger. Like chemtrails don't exist. Contrails, your eyes are deceiving you. Like we just have to see what's in these documents. So I will take a look at those, Christy.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear, and I'm also anxious to hear what Dane Wigington, the lead researcher at geoengineeringwatch.org, would have to say about that. Just interviewed him this past week. You can still actually watch that interview if this is a subject that is sparking your interest. He does a great job at explaining all the evidence we have of this weather modification, that this has been going on for decades. And so you can still watch that on LindellTV.com. If you go to the shows and click on the Get Free tab, it will be the most recent episode. So I'm going to be anxious to get his expertise as well, or maybe perhaps you'll want to reach out to him and be like, what do you make of these documents? Is this everything, as he says? I was also just couldn't help but chuckle to myself as I was listening to Lee Zeldin talk, like, we're going to be transparent. We're going to give you everything we have. It's like, we haven't been able to give them Epstein. Quick, give them the contrails.
Like, let's see about that.
You wonder how much of that is, or if it's part of the strategy of quelling the very bad job that they did with the Epstein files.
Exactly. And then also you have to wonder, how much do these government agencies, maybe, like, I'm not saying that I have any special knowledge of these agencies, but how much do they even know when it comes to these things like geoengineering? Like, how much does the EPA even know? Obviously the CIA doesn't share information with certain other departments, and a lot of these weather modification companies are really unregulated. So we don't even know how much the EPA knows. I can't help but cringe anytime I hear
are experts, we're the experts say anymore, like, because it's just such a joke. And so when Lee Zeldin's like, oh, we've also used our agency experts, is like, oh man, like, I don't care. I would, I like, experts now is like a dirty word to me, because we've been gaslit with that word for so much. As you said, how much do they even know, or are they just prepped and given the line? I mean, in my former work as a traditional news anchor, I would ask the meteorologists about these things, and it's just like they've already been prepped and given their science, their lines about like, oh no, it's just condensation, which Dane Wigington broke down doesn't even make scientific sense. So yeah, I'm really curious about what this will turn out to actually be.
Really, to hit on that point you made about the weather forecasters, the weather people that are on TV, mainstream media, I spoke to two of them when there was that flooding last year, all of that flooding down in the Appalachians, and they told me they don't even know cloud seeding schedules. And I thought that was sort of crazy that weather forecasters that work for mainstream media don't have access to cloud seeding schedules. You would think they would. It's their job to report rain, but they have no idea when it's happening. So I thought that was really interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how has the legacy, have you seen how the legacy media has responded to Lee Zeldin saying he's going to release it all when it comes to chemtrails?
Yes, and we have another element. If you guys could pull that one up, that today it's a little bit out of order, but there was an article. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling. Normally this is in a different order, but just to summarize, we don't have to pull up the article, but obviously the mainstream media is saying it's a conspiracy theory, as they always do. It's funny because he comes out with this information or this statement a couple of days ago. And I'm not going to name names of organizations, but I don't think that they have researchers on their team that were able to debunk these quote unquote conspiracy theories pertaining to weather modification within 2 days. So they're, like you said, they're repeating talking points. It's like, how do they have any special knowledge to say, no, this is conspiracy theory and this stuff isn't true and it's not real when it is real? Literally a day or two after Lee Zeldin came out and saying this. So they're basically saying that Trump's administration is wading into conspiracy theory when we all see the chemtrails and the contrails with our own eyes in the sky, but they literally tell us, don't believe what you see. It's almost like 1984. Everybody knows cloud seeding exists. Everybody knows that they used it during Vietnam War to create monsoons, and literally at Woodstock as well. If people didn't know that, go on YouTube, Google cloud seeding at Woodstock, and that was why there was so much rain at Woodstock. They literally were flooding out the hippies because they were disagreeing with the government, using a government weapon, which is cloud seeding, against American citizens during Woodstock. I actually found this out when I extensively researched this last year, and I was shocked at how much stuff really is just in plain sight for American people to research, but people still continue to call it quote unquote conspiracy theories.
Unbelievable.
It is. And we don't want to distract from obviously the illegal alien invasion, everything that is going on there. To go back into obviously everything on President Trump's agenda, it seems like Senator Fetterman, more and more is siding with conservatives, just exercising, I guess, common sense in certain areas. Obviously, he's terrible in others. But Fetterman came out with a strong statement in support of ICE. Please check out Senator Fetterman here. That is SOT number 1.
Absolutely unacceptable, terrible, awful. ICE agents are just doing their job, and I fully support that. And for me, and people in my party might want to abolish it or treat them as criminals or anything that's inappropriate and outrageous. ICE performs an important job for our nation.
Seemed like it was tough for him to get that out. Like, it's like he knew he was digging himself into a hole with his own party. But I mean, it's such common sense.
But I think people respect, and I think a lot of Democrats obviously know that we have to secure the border, and it probably is nice for them to have, some diversity of thought, which there is not much in that party, unfortunately, in the modern day. And if anyone hasn't seen that video footage, if you guys could, in the meantime, as I'm speaking, pull up number 7, illegal alien invasion, people running in the field. Basically, there was a bust yesterday, as some people might know, of what is a marijuana facility in California. And then, of course, Democrats automatically, and, social media warriors that are leftists, saying that this is the backbone of our society. This is Ice just swarmed Ventura County fields, hauling away the very farm workers who keep America's produce aisles stocked. And basically, this is not they were painting it to be a strawberry farm or some sort of produce farm, and it was a wheat farm. So they got called out tremendously on rapid response and by a lot of people in the Trump administration. It's a marijuana facility. What would we do without illegals to pick our weed? Moron. This is literally the White House response, or rather Rapid Response 47, which is run by the White House, literally calling this individual a moron for portraying this to be part of the food chain. Marijuana is not part of our food chain. It is not a necessity, even though during COVID,
Well, I mean, Kara, it does make people want to eat more, I'm told.
It does. I've been told that too.
So in that regard, I guess as part of the food chain, people consume more food after they consume what they were picking out over there, up in there, that pot field.
One more response from Stephen Chung, who actually his office is right there. I can look in his window right now from the White House. He's the head of communications team over here. And I love the way this new White House speaks. They just speak like the people. Stephen Chung responded to that video of these individuals and people painting them as farm workers. Jimmy Gomez must be getting high off that strawberry kush, which is a strain of weed, because this is a weed farm found to have exploited juveniles here illegally. And that's in response to Representative Jimmy Gomez of the House of Representatives talking about how these people were picking strawberries. So obviously there's misinformation coming from the Democrats in Congress, which is very sad because they're literally telling their constituents and their supporters false information. This was a weed facility. It was not a strawberry farm.
Well, we certainly can use any chance to have comic relief to laugh at the opposition for how ridiculous they are. So that's welcome. What else are you working on today?
Just a lot of, pretty slow here, to be honest, the White House, because everybody is a lot of people travel resident to Texas. We are going to obviously be following that later and talking more about the discussions that the president has there with local officials. He will probably meet with some parents of those campers. So sad. Maybe pull some footage from that as well. Just a lot of things, like I said, always going on in Washington, D.C. A lot of illegals around the country being arrested. A lot of stuff going on with that Supreme Court decision. Obviously, even though the Supreme Court decided that President Trump can basically perform these evacuations of illegals out of the country, but there are still judges, sadly, that are saying that they're going to go against the Supreme Court order, which is crazy. So we're following that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, Kara, and stay here on Lindell TV White House coverage because you'll be seeing more of Kara later in our live coverage. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, new administration, yet the MAGA persecution continues. We're going to have some examples just after this quick break.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Back to Chrissy Lee's DC Dispatch. So, hey, why are freedom fighters, those who stood up against COVID tyranny, still being persecuted? Died Suddenly has a new report out about Pam Bondi, Yes, that Pam Bondi, who also seems to have failed miserably on the Epstein files fiasco. They have a report out about Pam Bondi prosecuting a doctor who might have saved lives. Dr. Kirk Moore gave saline shots instead of the clot shots to help his patients who were being mandated or coerced into getting any shot. The trial in Salt Lake City, it coincides with 2025 CDC audit uncovering flaws in vaccine data reporting that could bolster his defense. A separate DOJ probe into Pfizer's foreign corruption dropped in February under AG Pam Bondi, raising questions about her role, especially after $2 million bribe allegations surfaced in a 2012 FCPA case. The trial's timing clashes with a Trump administration pledge to end COVID tyranny, highlighted by HHS Secretary RFK Jr.'s recent calls for transparency on vaccine trials, adding even more fuel to this. So what is going on? And how about this? A Republican election observer in Island County, Washington, just got convicted of a felony for refusing to wear a mask. He got convicted of a felony for refusing to wear a mask while watching ballot counting during the 2024 election, leaving people like myself fuming. This is insane. This guy, Tim Hazilo, faces up to a year in jail thanks to a woke prosecutor with a history of hating on Trump supporters. And now a second observer, an older woman, is facing the same charge. And get this, this comes as Liberty Daily is crying foul over what they call a blatant attack on election security. So more persecution. It's COVID tyranny and election security persecution all rolled up into one. Good grief. In other news, a state senator is airing out her dirty laundry on X. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's marriage hitting on the rocks with his wife Angela filing for divorce. But, you know, they couldn't handle this privately. Angela Paxton, who is also a state senator, wrote in a social media post that she filed for a divorce from her husband after recent discoveries pushed her to end their marriage after 38 years. She cited biblical grounds. Okay, but why the digs on social media? Is this because he's busy challenging John Cornyn, that slimeball, in the Senate primary? She trying to take him down politically as well? This is getting dirty. Legacy media has its own smears, as always, and always Trump is the target. New York Times reports Trump has hired scientists to doubt the consensus on climate change. Oh no, what are we gonna do? Has the pandemic taught us nothing about consensus? Big whoop-de-doo. A whole lot of experts agree. Got it very wrong when it came to the pandemic. It appears the propaganda campaign is not working. Yes, people are waking up. CNN even reveals no one is buying the climate change narrative. Watch this.
Are Americans afraid of climate change? And the answer is Americans aren't afraid of climate change. Climate activists have not successfully made the case to the American people. I want you to take a look here. Greatly worried about climate change. We have data going all the way back since 1989. Look at that. It was 35%, 2000, 40%, 2020, 46%, and 2025, 40%, which is the exact same percentage as back in 2000. Despite all of these horrible weather events, the percentage of Americans who are greatly worried about climate change has stayed pretty gosh darn consistent, which kind of boggles the mind a little bit. Granted, everything that we see on our television screens, our computer screens, the hurricanes, tornadoes, the flooding, but yet greatly worried about climate change, 40% in 2025, the exact same percentage as back in 2000.
Because maybe we know that all those natural events that are happening reek nothing of natural or even a response to climate change. We can see and are getting other evidence. I mean, how effective is it? Every time that you share all those past news headlines and articles and videos about, like, come 2012, the world is going to be unsustainable. And the date keeps on moving and moving because these things that the experts promise will happen never come to fruition. Hopefully people are getting smarter. Shifting now to Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark, just blew the lid off a bombshell FBI memo. Yeah, that one, Pam Bondi one that, oh, goodness. He's blowing the lid off this, claiming his brother's 2019 death was a suicide, calling it a total cover-up in Zero Hedge. He's slamming the DOJ and FBI's exhaustive review that ruled out murder at the New York jail, while Trump brushed off questions about it during a cabinet meeting, saying, are people still talking about this guy? Yeah, people are not too happy with Trump trying to blow that off. Will Epstein get memory hold? It's going to be up to we the people to keep this going as I'm talking about it again today, because remember Bill Gates? Anyone even remember the child porn discovery there? Ring a bell? We can't let this get memory hold like this one. Watch.
State. And tonight he's charged with having and trading a massive amount of child pornography. KIRO 7's Gary Horker is live near the Gates compound in Medina. And Gary, this man worked as an engineer for the family.
That's what SPD intelligence found out, Steve. They found out that the man actually worked for the Bill and Melinda Gates mansion on the grounds of their sprawling 66,000 square foot estate, and that's where they found him and questioned him last March. The estate is behind us right on the lakefront here, but this is a few blocks away, and it's as close as their security will allow us to get. But according to King County prosecutors,
Of course, it was the engineer. We had nothing to do with that child porn. We have a compound that's probably full of security, but we have a child porn viewing engineer. Has anyone done a wellness check on that guy? Might need to follow up on seeing if that man is even still alive. And then we have Ron Hart dropping a hot take. He's blasting the government for dodging transparency on the Epstein list, calling out the DOJ's latest memo, saying no client list exists, calling it a cover-up while Trump's team and some right-wing voices keep pushing for the full scoop. You know, we even heard from Alan Dershowitz, who was an accused person. He's saying, I've seen the list, I've heard the list. He's asking for everything to be released because he says that exonerates him. So he's confirming another angle of confirming that there is, in fact, a client list. This is all definitely leading to mistrust in the Trump DOJ, especially in light of other empty promises like, whatever happened to the pipe bomber answers on day one, Bongino. Dan Bongino on his podcast would always say, like, day one, we're going to finally blow the lid off of the false pipe bomber story. Has anyone heard anything about that? Anyone? Very disappointing. And we have to hold these people's feet to the fire because these are supposed to be our allies. This is supposed to be a new and transparent administration. You know, maybe we wouldn't have this totally BS next story if our useless DOJ at the moment, again, hopefully they'll turn things around, but if they had actually investigated the January 6th setup like they had promised they were going to do, maybe we wouldn't have this next story. Politico reporting that traitor Tom Tillis is drawing a line in the sand, warning Trump that he won't confirm anyone for his cabinet or judges who backs the January 6th insurrection. Tillis digging in, saying those taxing and spending cuts might be the least of Trump's worries if he keeps pushing J6 supporters. So again, you wouldn't even have to deal with nonsense like this if we had finally gotten to the truth of January 6th, and this was supposed to be a priority. And then we have Elon Musk. You know, has he also become a traitor? Susie Wiles is talking about that breakup. Perhaps I'll play that clip tomorrow because I'm running out of time. But Tesla stock has taken a hit since Elon Musk has talked about forming his own party and kind of turned against Trump. But overall, the market seems to be turning back around after dips. Watch this.
Stocks are up with the NASDAQ and S&P both hitting all-time highs. Investors brushing off tariff developments as the president imposes his highest rate yet on Brazil. The S&P and Dow posting their first positive sessions in 3. Consumer discretionary and real estate leading, communication services.
So here we go. Powell, hello. the Trump tariffs seem to be working. What are you doing? Okay, let's take a real quick look at the market today, see if we're still in the green, and not quite. We have given back a little bit, but you know, we're seeing enough positive territory for us to hit some record highs, so we'll keep an eye on that. Well, that is actually all the time I have for DC Dispatch today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I know you're going to continue to stay here on Lindell TV White House coverage because we have so much in store, and we have also wonderful weekend coverage I was talking about earlier. So stay right here on LindellTV.com.
The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysis are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever. And in addition to owning a MyPillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free MyPillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free MyPillow for a limited time for qualified accounts and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver.
Friends, we all know the truth. Big Pharma and the federal bureaucracy have made a mess of healthcare in this country, and boy, that's an understatement. President Trump signed an executive order to bring prices down, and that's a great step. But we know that real change takes time. There's one pharmacy that is already stepping up. I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're not waiting. They're taking action now with a summer sale that gives you the power to take control of your health. Right now, through the end of June, you get 20% off site-wide, no insurance required. Did you hear that? 20% off, site-wide, no insurance required. They work with licensed doctors in all 50 states, and they ship fast, straight to your door. Whether it's ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, emergency kits, or your daily prescriptions, this is a time to stock up. If you believe in medical freedom, if you're tired of waiting for someone else to fix things, do what I do. Take action. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell and use promo code Lindell20, Lindell 20 for 20% off your entire order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com Lindell. Promo code Lindell20. Let's protect our families, defend our freedom, and make America healthy again together.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again to Lindell TV. My name is Allison Steinberg, and you are watching DC Live. In this half hour, we will cover some updates from the White House. President Trump actually just departed earlier this morning to head out to Texas to visit the devastation after the flooding. He is currently actually, or I believe, set to meet with a group of first responders at a roundtable discussion where he will provide assistance and aid as needed. I know been very vocal about his thoughts and prayers going out to impacted out in Texas. So it's great that he's able to make his way out there. Now, I actually did a small piece on the Texas devastation about how DEI has sort of hindered some of the responses that could have been made to Texas. There's a woke fire chief there in Austin who refused to provide assistance at the time of the flooding. So be sure to go ahead and shout on social media. Mine is Allison in the Know. You can see that on the Real Lindell TV page. So go check that out for a little mini deep dive into how wokeness has hindered the response to the floods. just an extra little tidbit for you there. But as Trump is away today visiting the devastation after the flood, we are here at the White House covering all up. And I believe we have our White House correspondent, Kara Nova, on as well. She's going to discuss some of the potential weather modification engineering that may have been contributing to this horrible flood over in Thai. It's great to see you. How are you today?
Hey, Allison, I'm good. Nice calm day here at the White House. The weather is not raining like it was yesterday, but who knows? In an hour, we might have to pull out our umbrellas because the weather has been so out of control here in DC. Rain was on the forecast for 10 days. It keeps changing. It goes up, it goes down. Yesterday, I was outside. I don't know if you were outside yesterday or where you were, but literally it was raining in one area, but not in another area. I don't know if you could agree with me that it's just been really bizarre here in DC. I've never experienced weather like this before, where it's freezing cold, then it's hot, then it's raining, then it's not, then it's raining in one part of the sky, then it's not raining if you walk 5 feet away. It's been absolutely crazy. So this is a topic obviously a lot of people are talking about now.
Yeah, it is. And it's a really important topic because I think a lot of this bizarre weather behavior is being done intentionally and strategically by our government, which I want to dive into with you. I know you're very passionate about this, but you're right, Kara, to you just mentioned there, the weather here is bizarre. And I didn't know if this is just like a DC swamp thing. That's how it is here. I'm from Southern California, where it's 75 and sunny pretty much every day. It's beautiful weather. So I have never had to deal with anything quite like this, but it is insane. You're right. 1 minute it's like hot and sunny, 95. You're like drenched in sweat, and the next torrential downpour and like the most insane humidity. You can barely take a deep breath. It's so crazy. I don't know if it's been like this for all of time or if things are ramping up as the globalists try to implement chemical warfare and weather warfare upon the unsuspecting citizens here, but it is an important you want to dig into. Now, interestingly enough, the EPA administrator for President Trump, Lee Zeldin, it has been talking a lot about this and is actually set to release a full report on everything we know thus far pertaining to geoengineering and weather modification. Is that right, Kara?
It is, and I actually I don't know if the full report has been released. I only started looking at this today on the way here. Obviously, there's a lot of documents to go through. There's a link on the EPA.gov website to these quote-unquote documents that are transparent, but I'm just conditioned at this point after everything that's going on with the releasing of other certain documents that it might not be as groundbreaking as we're hoping for, but who knows? I'm going to give obviously Lee Zeldin the benefit of the doubt, but just a quick scroll over and glance through the stuff that is up on EPA as of right now. It almost seems like it's kind of nothing burger stuff, sadly. But again, I don't want to jump to that conclusion. It's kind of seemingly like downplaying the things that we're seeing in the sky every day when they're telling us that we're crazy, that we see these things, nothing here when we see like streaks across the sky. It seems like, again, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I just want to refer everyone to the EPA.gov website to check out those documents. I haven't had a chance to look through them. I do think that they're releasing more according to Lee Zeldin. I do think that Lee Zeldin's an honest guy that wants to do a good job, and I do commend him for actually bringing this conversation to the forefront of of the nation, because everybody is talking about it. Of course, the mainstream media is saying this is delving into conspiracy theories, which isn't true. It's not a conspiracy theory when you see a chemtrail in the sky above your head and then you're told that you don't see what you're seeing. It's upsetting, and everybody knows cloud seeding exists. Everybody knows weather modification has been a CI operation since really over 100 years ago. Allison, I don't know if you're aware of Operation Popeye and Operation Sirius. I think it was called Project Cirrus, these cloud seeding projects. And, I wrote an article on this in the Gateway Pundit, if you guys want to check that out. But this was last year. And I really had to be careful because, people were even just talking about cloud seeding, something that's been a known thing that people do. People were calling me a conspiracy theorist just by talking about simple cloud seeding. People literally can hire planes. I don't know if you know this, Allison, to modify the weather for their weddings. There's websites up all over the internet, especially in England, where people literally can purchase cloud seeding if they want it to, or the opposite, whatever the opposite technology is, to make the sky dry if they don't want it to rain on their wedding day. So this is stuff that's just out there under your nose. And I don't know also, and I mentioned this earlier, and I don't know if you saw, but the Woodstock was cloud seeded. There's an old video, and I'll send it to you. It was on YouTube, and it was like on some old VHS type old school tape where the hippies were running around screaming that that there were helicopters and planes in the sky dropping things at Woodstock. And that's why we see all those images of Woodstock being, people were doused in rain, they were in puddles, they were freezing. They were literally using weapons against American citizens, hippies that didn't agree with the Vietnam War at the time. And this was completely in conjunction at that same time with Operation, I believe it was Popeye, during the Vietnam War when they were amplifying monsoons in Vietnam. So again, you think back to all those images we saw of the Vietnam soldiers where they're going through like water up to their chest. Think about like Forrest Gump, where like these guys are like, they have their guns and they're like wading through this water up to here. It was literally cloud seeding operations that's been completely admitted to by the CIA, that they were seeding clouds in Vietnam to make it worse, obviously, over there, the weather, to block roads and to create flooding and whatnot, not caring that American soldiers obviously were going to be living in horrific conditions for the time that they were spent there during the war. And at the same time, coincidentally, during Woodstock, you know, we saw all of the rain that happened there. So this is just something that's been happening, like I said, since the beginning of, since at least 100 years ago, Allison, when they were cloud seeding to create hurricanes and see if they could modify hurricanes. And I could go on and on about this topic. Google operations, I think it was Cirrus, CIRRUS, literally an operation regarding hurricanes by the CIA to see if they could modify hurricanes. They messed up, by the way, and they redirected a hurricane. This is on Wikipedia. They redirected a hurricane that was set to hit Florida. It went out off the coast of Florida, turned around and hit Georgia and like decimated a town there. And this is like 75 years ago they were doing this. So you could only imagine how much the technology has changed since then, Allison.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
it's a topic people need to be talking more about because it affects all of us, obviously, especially as the technology grows.
Absolutely. It's definitely, you know, something that we've been warning about for quite some time, that you're right, many of us have been written off as crazy conspiracy theorists. So that's why I'm actually really glad to see Lee Zeldin actually bringing this to the American people's attention. Whether we have any, you know, definitive hardcore evidence in this document report he's going to release is still yet to be determined. I haven't read through it either myself, but I mean, the evidence is compiling. You got Dane Wigington of Geoengineering Watch, who our very own Christy Lee just did an interview with earlier in the week. I encourage everyone to check that out on LindellTV.com. But he's been extremely vocal about this issue. He's been so outspoken about it. I would say he's probably dedicated his life to exposing the truth behind geoengineering and you know, cloud seeding and all of that. But I mean, he says it straight up. Climate engineering is this is his words. I'm quoting him. Climate engineering is contaminating the entire biosphere, also destroying the ozone layer. It is an existential threat. So if we don't get a hold on this, then I mean, we're not really going to have a country anymore. This is one of the most massive issues facing the nation. No one seems to care. Of course, the liberals would probably cheer it on in the name of protecting the nation or the globe against climate change, but ridiculous, because this is actually doing far more harm than it is good. There are zero benefits to it whatsoever. And in fact, I believe RFK Jr.'s former running mate, Nicole Shanahan, is doing a massive expose into this as well. She calls this the Dark MAGA report, or sorry, Dark Maha report, because it's health related, right? And she's actually talking about how Harvard and Stanford are now going so far as to recruit students to either be activists for geoengineering or to actually be a scientist in the field where they go and work for these corporations that ultimately end up poisoning us. So this is a real thing. It is absolutely happening. There's no question about it. It's just a matter of, will anything be done to stop it? Now, I did want to also point out that President Trump signed an executive order back in 2020 that halted taxpayer funding climate change initiatives. So on a surface level, this does sound like, oh, maybe that's good. Maybe that would put a stop to all of this geoengineering that we're seeing. But it actually didn't. Unfortunately, if you read into it, it really didn't stop it at all. It just sort of rebranded it. So it's absolutely still going on. I don't know if President Trump understands the severity of this yet, but I think it's an issue that we need to keep pressing so that it's brought to his attention so that something can actually be done to put a stop to this. Would you agree?
It's true. And what's so sad about the whole climate change activist thing is they really take advantage of these young kids and just give them all this misinformation. Because I think what it comes down to And I was thinking about this thing they do. We don't want the earth to be destroyed. We're just blaming different entities for destroying the earth. Like, we don't want to see the oceans destroyed and the sky destroyed and pollution and, natural disasters. Like, it's almost the same cause, but except that these climate quote unquote activists believe it's global warming. It's like natural gas that's doing this. And, when in reality, if anything that they're saying is climate change, like all of these natural disasters happening around the world that are so strange, probably could be attributed to everything that they're doing with geoengineering. I think that that's more likely than, obviously hairspray and gas coming out of the back of the car or whatever. Pizza ovens in New York City,
Or
which
out
they
of the
banned.
cow.
Right, cow
Gas from
farts. It's
they're
so
trying
ridiculous.
to kill the cows off. I mean, it's so
Could it
absurd.
be? It's absolutely absurd. And I think, like I said, they just have to be re-educated. And if you just put in, and I would encourage people, all people are talking about is cloud seeding when the technology has gotten so much more nefarious. Put in Bill Gates and sun dust. And there was just an article that comes right up on Forbes. A Bill Gates venture aims to spray dust into the atmosphere to block the sun. What could go wrong? And this has already started now. This is back in 2021. Literally, Bill Gates is literally spraying dust. And this is being acknowledged by mainstream media years ago, and people still call it a conspiracy theory. It's called sun dust, and it literally is a lot of the stuff that Robert Kennedy Jr. is talking about. That's literally destroying the soil, depleting the soil, so that we can't grow nutritious food. It's dangerous because we could take all the pesticides out all we want, but when you have sun dust literally falling from the atmosphere into all of our crops, fields all around the world, it's really impossible to say, oh well, we want to get rid of glyphosates, and we want to stop the poisonous vaccines, when literally the entire sky is being destroyed with this quote unquote chemical sun dust and all these other stuff that they're doing, and nobody talks about it. Again, it's mind-boggling to me. So I do think some of these climate activists are young kids that come from the right place because they don't want to live in a destroyed planet, but they're literally pointing the fingers, and they're being trained by the powers that be to point the fingers in the wrong direction, obviously. And it's very upsetting, because it would be great to have those people on our side, because they're so young and they're so crazy, for lack of a better word, about this cause, to start actually pointing fingers at the geoengineers and, all of these people that are cloud seeding, and all of this stuff happening with, is it HARPA? All of this stuff in the Arctic. Right. All of the stuff that they're doing, which I'm just learning about myself. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a very deep rabbit hole. There's so much to it, and it's extremely complex. But you touched on a great point. I mean, the fact that they're literally targeting the youngest members of society, going after these college students at, of course, Harvard and Stanford, these notorious indoctrination camps. They're brainwashing them ultimately before they can even enter out into the world, under the guise of it being a good cause. They think that they're saving the environment, that they're saving the world, but that's actually couldn't be further from the truth. And as you mentioned, I love this point as well. I mean, fighting against the poison fighting against the poison in the food, it's all really pointless if we're being poisoned in the sky, and the air that we breathe every day is completely toxic. Really nothing else, right? So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some hope for these youngsters once they get out into the real world and realize what they're actually contributing to and complicit in. That's my hope and prayer for them. But it is concerning nonetheless that they are being targeted at such an early point in their lives, before they ever really develop any critical thought of their own to try to do good for society, instead of literally contributing to the end of the world, I suppose. So that is extremely alarming. Kara, I would love to continue this conversation with you. I know there's so much more to talk about. We're going to go to a quick commercial break here, and then we will be back with more DC Live. I'm Allison Steinberg. This is Kara Castronova. Thank you so much for tuning into Lindell TV. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more in 2 minutes.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com. Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids. But not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DC Live. Thank you so much for tuning into Lindell TV. My name is Allison Steinberg, and we are here live at the White House. And I believe we still have our White House correspondent, Kara Castronova, on with us. Kara, if you are there, there she is. Hi, Kara.
Yeah.
So before the break, we were touching on this horrific geoengineering, cloud seeding, weather modification that is taking place in the nation. Been very well documented. There is clear evidence that it is happening. Dane Wigington of geoengineeringwatch.org, who I encourage everyone to check out that website, has made a career out of warning about the very serious and extreme threat that implementing this into society poses. It's really interesting, Kara, because we were talking before about the liberals' response to this, how, you know, so many have sadly been brainwashed into believing that climate change is, you know, going to be the death of us all, and that, you know, we have to stop eating meat and we have to, you know, stop breathing clean air, and we basically just can't participate in society because that's bad for the environment, and the world might end if, you know, we continue on living like we have for the past decades, right? So it really is absurd, but I found this hilarious. I wanted to play this clip because after all of the brainwashing, all the years of, you know, screaming this is the end of the world from the climate alarmists, we now have CNN themselves admitting that people actually don't care that much about climate change. Take a listen to this.
Are Americans afraid of climate change? And the answer is Americans aren't afraid of climate change. Climate activists have not successfully made the case to the American people. I want you to take a look here. Greatly worried about climate change. We have data going all the way back since 1989. Look at that. It was 35%. 2000, 40%. 2020, 46%. And 2025, 40%, which is the exact same percentage as back in 2000. Despite all of these horrible weather events, the percentage of Americans who are greatly worried about climate change has stayed pretty gosh darn consistent, which kind of boggles the mind a little bit. Granted, everything that we see on our television screens, our computer screens, the hurricanes, tornadoes, the flooding, but yet greatly worried about climate change, 40% in 2025. The exact same percentage as back in 2000.
So why?
Why? It's because people are not worried that it's necessarily going to affect them. That's what's going on here. You'll be a natural disaster victim, often or sometimes worried. Look at this. In 2006, it was 38%. Look at where we are now in 2025. It's 32%. 38% to 32%. The number's actually gone down. The number's gone down in terms of the percentage of Americans who are worried there'll be a natural disaster victim, such as a hurricane or a tornado.
What about people's thoughts or concerns about the future?
Okay, so right now we're looking at the present, right? What about going into the future? That's all this talk, maybe Miami might be underwater at some point, right? But yet when it comes to climate change effect on my home area, will be harder to stay. Look at this. All adults, it's just 17%. It's just 17%. The GOP is 6%. Independents is 6%. Even Democrats here, it's just 27% of Democrats who say that climate change will make it harder to stay in our area. And I think this is what's so important. This is across the aisle in terms of the percentage who say it will be harder to stay in their area. And that is the exact same thing that we see here when you'll be a natural disaster victim. Under 50% of Democrats, Republicans, and independents believe that, in fact, they could be, or at least worry about the chance that they'd be a natural disaster victim.
People might think it's an issue, but clearly not a driving issue when people go to the polls.
That's exactly right. They may worry about it in the abstract, but when it comes to their own lives, they don't worry.
Ariane, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that is so
that guy just sounded so out of
fascinating.
touch, in my opinion, like with Americans, just really in shock that
He's
they
like
don't care
shocked.
about climate change. It's weird.
I mean, let's be real. People care about what impacts them on a day-to-day basis. They care about how much they pay at the grocery store. They care about how much it costs to fill up their gas tank. They care about how much they have to pay, in rent or for their mortgage, right? We've been told by these climate alarmists for decades that it was going to end, that Florida was going to be underwater. Meanwhile, all of these elites continue to buy properties right in Florida. So isn't that interesting? But I think we've seen from time that these warnings that they've attempted to cast upon society are simply not true. They're not real issues that need to plague us and worry us from a day-to-day perspective. And I think that most people are actually catching on to this now. So I think this is some good news. I think people are finally seeing through the storm, no pun intended, and they're looking to understand that it's actually not as pressing of a matter as we were once told it might be, right?
Well, yeah, or maybe they're just seeing through the BS. All of the people that are being subjected across the Mideast to these wind turbines, destroying the Purple Mountain's majesty, as Robert Kennedy Jr. once said, literally destroying the oceans here in Long Island, 4 hours up north where I live, and New England, where they're trying to put offshore wind turbines, the solar panels that don't work, all of this nonsense that's literally just creating more pollution, like old school pollution. And environmentalists are saying these batteries, these wind turbine blades, they're actually worse for the environment. They don't use fancy names like climate change and all this fake science that could be manipulated. They literally hire scientists to lie to the public, just like they did with so many other things that we know about, like vaccines, for example. So they're literally doing this. These same quote unquote scientists are just paid professionals that they get to construct this data and these charts and whatever, these diagrams and all this stuff they put out there to just confuse the public. When you don't understand what something is, like climate change, nobody even knows what it is. It's just a term referring to nothing, really. People need to be more worried about the environment, like old school environmentalists. Like, what are wind turbine blades doing? What are these battery facility terminals that they're installing in the ocean to support this green new energy scam doing to the environment? It's polluting the environment. It's putting people's lives in danger. These are more pressing matters, obviously, than this whole conspiracy theory of climate change.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think people are fed up with, being pawns to this horrifying machine that ultimately seeks to destroy and kill. I mean, that's what we've seen from these horrible disasters that they'll call natural disasters, but we know they're really anything but. Kara, we're almost out of time. Before we go today, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Would you say that most of the old school old school folks who were absolutely all for, the preservation of the land, who were against the poisonings and whatnot, would you say they are now on board with the climate engineering
No,
garbage,
I
the
don't think so. I
Green
think
New Deal stuff?
No, I think a lot of the old school environmentalists are against it because they actually were
Environmentalists,
fighting
yeah.
for something that was good. Robert Kennedy Jr. was fighting to clean up the Hudson River. People want to continue to fish. They want to continue to hunt. They don't want wildlife to become extinct because of ridiculous Green New scam technologies. So I think that these people that are old school, that are boomers maybe, or even Generation X, grew up in an age of where protecting the environment was an important thing, but in an old school way, not in this new technology way that nobody understands. Nobody understands the ramifications. Nobody understands the global footprint this will have in 50 years from now. Will probably destroy the earth more than it's trying to help the earth. So I think these people are common sense environmentalists. A lot of conservatives are conservationists. They want to protect wildlife species. They want to protect natural places like beaches, like forests, like beautiful things that this country has to offer, all of the landscapes across the 50 states. It's gorgeous. People want to continue to see that, but they're not on board with the climate change hoax, which is complete fallacy in so many ways. So yes, I think that conservatives especially have become increasingly concerned about the environment, but think that climate change is a complete hoax.
Amen to that. Kara, we are all out of time for today. Thank you so much for joining us to discuss this. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more in DC right after this break. Thank you so much.